Won't you stay with me? The sun may have set here on the eastern side of the country, but ladies and gentlemen, a new day is dawning here in the OOR. It is the start of the Simrigs Sprint Series, Season 14, and we are ready to bring you an exciting night of action here. 60 minutes going to be on the clock, and we'll see which of these drivers has it in them to find the checkered flag first. Hello everybody, my name is Nick A. Moen, and I want to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. And joining me in the commentary booth from across the pond over in Croatia, who did race a little bit earlier, Mr. Charles Phillips. Charles, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty decent, I'd say. Racing on Silverstone is certainly a thing, so yeah, exciting race ahead of us here in the NA split. Of course, we have more than 20 drivers, which is rare for EU, but seems to be quite a thing here, so exciting, eh?
More than 20 in NA, my friend. We have 34 drivers showing up and showing out here for the start of this season. Plenty of faces returning, plenty of faces just making their first exposures here on the scene. A lot of these guys pulling up from rookies after their stint. They're looking to maybe make a name for themselves here in the Sprint Series. We have got some pretty fierce competition already as one of the new drivers, Jaid Hutchinson from Canada, goes on top with a 57.39, almost a half second faster than Skylar Loverink, who is a name that we have talked quite a lot about here in North America these last few seasons. He has put on an incredible set of races, it seems like every single week. But the main man we're going to be looking to right here is Michael Landry in a very sleek looking livery. Last season's champion, managed to clear second place by only 20 points. That was Renato Dornelles, the Brazilian powerhouse that we have seen all too often here in North America. Unfortunately, Dornelles will not be joining us this season. He's off on break or something or other. So for Landry, he had a pretty sizable margin down to third, so he'll be looking to maybe change that, or not change that, but do it again here this season. For Pro-Am, though, it is pretty much all open. Michael Formato, who was last season's champion, will also not be racing, but a very sizable chunk of the Pro-Am category has returned. Kevin Parody being one of them, Lanham Wicks as well. Hunter Page down there in the number 6 Lamborghini will also be making a return for the black suits. And then in the amateur class, Austin Shirley currently sitting P17 right now with a 2:1:115. Gonna be trying to hold on to the amateur class crown for another season, but we have got quite the schedule ahead of us. It is not going to be 7 like last season. In fact, we've added a few more races onto it. So instead of 7, we're going with 10 over the next 3 months from today, July 20th, all the way until October 19th. We are going to be racing. We've got a few bye weeks in there. So looking at the schedule, we're here at Silverstone, then we're off to Hungary, then it's down to South Africa for Kyalami before we do a little bit of a stint here back in Europe with the Nürburgring and Paul Ricard. Then it's over to the east, to the land of the rising sun. Suzuka will be playing host, followed by Valencia back in Spain, and then of course we have to visit the land down under Australia. It's going to be Bathurst there for round number 8. Monza, the Temple of Speed, and 9. I'm sure we all have some great opinions about Monza. And then to round us out, the final race of the season is going to be at Spa. So hopefully you guys are ready for this, I would say, endurance of a sprint series, if we're being perfectly honest. It's looking like we're going to have a lot of battles. We're going to have a great season, I think. And as we get into qualifying, one quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 14 of the Sprint Series. They've been on board with us the last couple of seasons, and honestly, we love working with these guys. A Melbourne-based sim racing supplier, one of the largest down there, in fact, has everything you need if you want to upgrade your equipment or maybe add a couple of little goodies on there. All of Australia and New Zealand you guys covered, no doubt, but if you're like myself or maybe Charles and you happen to live just beyond those borders, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to do some business with you and get some sweet equipment out your way. And of course, if you're an OOR Patreon member, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases. So I would advise using that 5% because if there's one thing we all know as sim racers is that our hobby is not cheap by any means, or life depending on who you are. So take advantage of that. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series as we head out on track. It's Portis who is first one out. Pretty common stuff here in North America. But Charles, let's go back to you for a bit. We've got a driver like you who just did a race not too long ago here at Silverstone.
Yeah.
Give us your thoughts going through it, top to bottom. How did it go from beginning to end, and what was going on in between?
Well, it was certainly a race. Interesting, changing weather. In the Porsche, the car which I had about 2 practice laps with before the race, was quite interesting. So yeah, a lot of things can catch you out, especially rain and other people not driving as quickly or as slowly as you would expect. So, you know, a lot of factors are in there. It's a fast circuit and just have to be very careful with it.
Yeah, we did have similar conditions in EU, pretty damp qualifying, and then we got into the race and it too was damp, and then the rain let up and the track didn't dry as quickly, but then the rain came back and we had some weird dives from people into the pit lane. Some were going for wet, some were going onto a new set of dries. It was kind of all over the place. You seem to cope pretty well though.
Yeah, I mean, if you say so.
Well, I mean, okay, you coped as well as you could have.
Yeah, that's a nice word to put it as, but who is coping really well right now is Kenneth Portis the second, whatever that means. Is going around the lap here. He's the first on the circuit, if I'm not mistaken. So, 12 minutes qualifying, starting damp. I would imagine he's on the wet tires, so just taking it a little bit easier than he would usually. Huge braking zone into the chicane and onto the F1 start-finish straight. This should be flat in any condition. Yes, it is flat. I can't help but notice you have miles per hour turned on.
Well, of course I do. I'm from North America. That's all I use is miles per hour. You listen, I see plenty of videos, plenty of tutorials, plenty of discussions in kilometers. Let me have this moment of being in miles per hour. And I did it with EU too, so I will not apologize.
I accept your apology anyways. Kenneth Portis is on a good lap right now, staying on track at least, and down the Hamilton Straight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, he's good news right now though is that the conditions are better than they were in EU. We had a pretty cloudy qualifying, but the sun, I mean, it was behind the clouds for what, all of 60 seconds, and now it's coming out, so that's going to be drying the track a lot quicker. And then you have those 32 cars on track, or sorry, 37. Where did all these people come from? 37 drivers. That is going to be clearing a line far faster than I think people really have a lot of time to actually wrap their head around. So we should be going on to, I would say, fast conditions in maybe a few minutes.
Maybe. It really depends on the temperature and how the sun affects the circuit, because in EU Split, for example, it did not dry out at all, even though it was raining since the beginning of the session. So right now we have Jonathan Clifford on provisional pole with a 2:04.5 initial time, which compared to a 2:09, which was the initial time in EU Split, shows that the track is quite a bit better.
Yeah, exactly, and you can see it's, you know, that line. Whoa, you got one of the new McLarens rolling out. Now we got Kevin Parody. I have to see what his livery looks like, because Kevin, for those of you that may not know, Kevin is a previous co-commentator, seasoned sprint racer, and every season he breaks out some wacky livery, and it looks like he's got those weird sparkly sequins you would see on sort of a pillow for, you know, that you would have back in like the early 2000s, but he's got something good going on. You see the 710 there of one of the Landrys. There's two. There's Marc-Antoine Landry. There's Michael Landry. I never know who it is exactly. I did mix it up earlier. It was Mark that was last season's champion, and they have very similar numbers. So Landry is or Michael is 711 or 710, and Mark is 711. So we're rocking and rolling here with these with these numbers. But anyways, qualifying is coming through now. Only 8 drivers have set a time. That's Rodriguez on provisional pole, a debutant here in the Sprint Series with a 2:04.420 blazing speeds here. Then it's Clifford, Portis, Flamger, Keogh, Rasco, Lanham, and Lutke. So outside of your provisional pole sitter, these are all very familiar names here in North America. Just looking through the rest of the grid as well. Andrew Wilson's back for another season. Austin Shirley, as I mentioned earlier. Braden Thompson is a new driver. I just realized we have 2 Rodriguez's, both from Argentina. We have Mariano, and then we have Felipe, so I'll have to make sure I don't get those mixed up at some point. Austin Carpenter's back for another shot at the title. Loverink looking to make amends. Chad Thiele as well. Darren Wicks, Kevin Parody I just mentioned. Hunter Page as well. Dylan Kaiser, Michael Landry. Oh, God, they're both here. All right, well, this is going to be fun. Tim Parkinson, Eduardo Sanchez, Edson Mike, Jorge Nunez. Those are all the returning drivers. And then I think about half this grid right now is new faces. And that's, I got to say, that's the one thing I always enjoy about these sprint series is the new drivers that show up and try to make their mark. Charles, you have obviously had the experience of driving with the new faces in EU. What are your thoughts on the whole new driver thing coming in? I mean, obviously it's a good thing to have some fresh set of tires on the circuit, but do you find it to be a particularly fun time or a stressful time?
Well, I mean, the more drivers you have on the circuit, the more fun it is. So I don't see anything wrong with it. And somebody there did something wrong and got it into a wall. As Tyler Rodriguez goes lawn mowing. So this is quite a fun time we are having here.
Yep, drivers getting to grips with the condition. I'm going to just apologize in advance. There are some drivers out there who do not have their liveries loaded. We do use a livery sync tool here. It makes things a lot easier. If you were around when we did it the old-fashioned way, you will much appreciate the livery sync tool created by Glenn Germain. Great guy, love him. But some of them didn't load, so if you're one of those drivers who sees your car pop up and it's looking a little bit barren, then I apologize. We'll try to get it sorted out for next week. But anyways, Larry Lanham here in position number 7 in the BMW. 2:07.2. The track actually not drying as quickly as I would have thought, despite the number of cars and the sun. I think it's probably the temperature that's causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's about how the sun reflects onto the circuit and the temperature. You know, it's hard for the water to just evaporate, and since not many people are now running wet tires, it's just gonna make it more harder and harder as the session progresses. But one thing is for sure, and it is that we only have 13 out of 37 drivers setting a valid time right now, and that is one Luis Ferrari there. Holy.
Yep, Abdel Ali Al-Bakar, a new driver in the number 23 for the amateur class. Almost had that lap stitched together nicely, but ran a bit wide. Thankfully, not at the start-finish line just yet. This lap would be quite long. This is actually an out lap here for the debutant driver. One thing I want to also point out on this scoring column, you see all those fancy little colored boxes of white and black and red and silver. Well, those are the driver classifications. Of course, white is the pro drivers. You'll be seeing a lot of those towards the top. A lot of the familiar faces we've seen in the OR will be there. Same with the black squares for Pro-Am. Kevin Parody, of course, one of those lucky few. Same with Darren Wicks and Hunter Page as well. And then the amateurs in the red, Albekar, Thiele, L, and Shirley. And then the silvers, those are drivers who have yet to be classified. It doesn't quite mean they're straight from the rookies with absolutely no sort of... Oh, that's a Nice little spin there. It's not like they don't have any sort of skill checked. It's just that the governing body will take its time to kind of see how well these drivers actually handle things, and then see, based off of pace, consistency, and all those other fun little factors, will put them in one of the three classes. Usually it takes, I don't know, 3 or 4 races at the most to classify. So if you have a favorite driver who has yet to be put into one of those 3 categories, just keep yourself held down. It will be there very soon. Don't you worry.
Yes, indeed. And one little suggestion, let's keep it off from car 23 because we've had the camera on them 3 times, and 3 times they have collected a wall. So it's not particularly good luck for them. So we're just gonna focus here on Felipe Rodriguez with the 994 machine in the Porsche, of course, the best car on the grid. No bias.
Oh, of course not. No bias at all.
No bias at all, as over the line he goes P10. Quite an improvement.
It is. Felipe Rodriguez was your pole. Oh, no, sorry, that was Mariano Rodriguez. That was your pole sitter. That man in the 85 Lamborghini has gone into 3rd position as Hutchinson makes his mark, a 2:03.57, almost a full second clear of Loverink and Rodriguez. That's, if you're a returning driver like Loverink or even Clifford and Portis, that is very concerning to see someone like that waltz onto the scene and start putting up lap times like that. You have to be getting a little bit nervous.
If I was, for example, Loverink, I would not be nervous at all because I would know Hutchinson from SRO, and as would Portis and Clifford. So it's nothing new for them because they've been racing together for about over a year now in 3 different championships, as far as I know. So yeah, nothing new there, as Hutchinson is a proved driver and he knows what he's doing. But so far the track is still not improving. It's only greasy with temperature reaching 17, a little bit of wind, but that's not playing a factor, as Hutchinson has only managed a 2:03.2, which is about, I would say, 4 seconds of the pace.
Yeah, we saw the 157 come out in free practice, but that was perfect track conditions. Of course, the rain came in at some point, got the track all wet, so cars are not going to be running as quickly as they were. But the big thing here with these sort of wet to damp track starts is that as this surface dries, whoever is considered the last driver will have the biggest advantage, because those in front of you are going to be clearing a slightly drier path every single time. And if you're the first one out, well, you're the pioneer. You get to have the worst of it. Maybe you go back to the pits, kind of let people cycle through and then pop back out somewhere. But we're going to be trying to keep track of all these cars. Again, 37 on the grid, and everybody's vying for any little piece of real estate they can to try and make this qualifying something special. But still, it is Hutchinson who is sitting at the top there. A 2:03.22.7 is on an improvement of just a couple of tenths. We'll see if that's enough to convert into a 2:02. But just behind, Jonathan Clifford on a scorcher of a lap himself, over a second and a half. I think Hutchinson just lost some time somewhere. He went from 2 tenths all the way down to being almost a full second back. So as he crosses the line, that is not going to do him any favors. Jonathan Clifford, though, around the final corner he goes. How fast is it going to be? It's a 2:02.66. That's enough for provisional pole. Half a second clear of Hutchinson, who does have another shot at this. But, ladies and gentlemen, this time limit has expired. If you have not finished a lap, well, you're on your last one. We've got cars scattered all over the place right now as these times are winding down. It's still Clifford on pole position, and he has another lap to work with. So does he improve? That is the main concern for him.
I would say the main concern for him would be if Hutchinson improves, because he is right in front of him and he might be on a lap. Might.
Might he is, but currently it's just barely enough to maybe go even, not enough to overtake. But of course, anything can happen. We're just about halfway through the lap right now. So for the time being, Clifford is safe, but for how long is he going to be safe for? If it's not long enough, well, then there's going to be some problems because...
Oh, and Clifford is off. Clifford is off at the back.
I just saw that.
As Rodriguez goes over the line with a 2:02.5.
So Rodriguez gets pole position.
Not yet, because Hutchinson is still on a lap.
Hutchinson could do it. Wilson pulls off. His quali is done. For right now, we'll see where he ends up. We ride here with Hutchinson looking a little bit loose there out of the corner, but he does have an absolutely massive time gain over his personal best, and this could be enough for pole position as he comes around the final corner, crosses the line, and Hutchinson goes on pole at the last possible second. And if you're him, that's a great way to start your season already at the top.
Yes, it is indeed a great way to start your season because, well, you are first, you know everybody behind you is slower than you, so all you have to do is keep out of trouble and you might just get away with a win.
Well, it's one thing to qualify in front, it's another thing to actually stay there. This race coming up is going to have a mandatory pit stop after the first 5 minutes of the race. Drivers just have to put new tires on. They don't have to, you know, go and do this, that, and the other thing. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for one of, if not my most favorite things ever to do in the OOR. And if you know me, then you know I've always done this for, well, as long as I can realistically remember. That is going to be the grid walk. Get to take a look at all of the great liveries that have been made here in the OOR. So, ladies and gentlemen, not only will we take you through these cars, we're going to take you through the starting order. There are 37 cars on track, and how they all end up by the checkered flag, well, that is going to be something only time will tell. But what we do know is that Hutchinson takes pole position right at the end of qualifying. A great start from him in the OOR. Like Charles said, he's had some familiar faces to race with, and he's going to be looking to do the same thing here again. It's Rodriguez, another debutant who makes it onto the front row. P3 belongs to Clifford, a familiar face here in the North American Sprint Series. A pretty standard starting position from him considering last season's results. Then it's Flomger who keeps him company there. Zampatti and Rasco are 5th and 6th. Loverink down in 7th position. Kenneth Portis makes it 8th, and then Carpenter in 9th. Thompson, though, rounds out your top 10, and then we start with Kaiser in P11. Ben Keogh makes it P12. Right there in the number 33 McLaren. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get back up front by the end of the race. Michael Landry, one of two Landrys that I'm going to be dealing with this whole season, is in position 13 with Jose Flores, a new driver in the Sprint Series, alongside Andrew Wilson and Felipe Rodriguez got each other company there in 15th and 16th position. Tadas Lutkis from Lithuania is in the Audi. The BMW there of Larry Lanham just behind two German manufacturers right there. And then it's Austin Shirley looking to defend the amateur class crown, but he's got 10 races to do it, and it's a long way to go from there. Darren Wicks in position 20 in the Porsche. In the Audi behind that, it's Phil Brown, another addition to North American Sprint. Keyshawn Hall, Jorge Nunez, Chad Thiele, Chris Good, Jaden Henderson, and then Alan McIver, Tim Parkinson, Nabil L, and Emily Callison. That's going to be down to 30th. And it's Kevin Parody, Hunter Page, Tyler Doggins, Abdel Ali El Bakar, Eduardo Sanchez, Mike Clean, and Edson Mike rounding us out. That 37 car strong grid is away. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, of course, one quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring this series. Can't do a lot. Oh, I say can't do a lot, but I mean, these guys are great. Out of Melbourne, Australia, everything you need in terms of sim racing. We thank them, of course, for their continued support. Australia, New Zealand, you guys are covered. North America, Europe, Asia, South America, Africa, anywhere that isn't the land down under of kangaroos and koalas and kiwis. Well, an email is all you're going to need, and if you are one of those amazing OR Patreon members, 5% off is all it's going to take for you to save a couple of $bucks there, so make sure you take advantage of that. But, ladies and gentlemen, on track we go with Hutchinson playing safety car. And, Charles, I think we're going to be in for quite an exciting evening with all of these cars on grid right now. Look at the top 4, dominated entirely by the Raging Bulls.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That's an understatement. But yeah, 4 places, all Lamborghinis. It's anybody's race, really. All depends on the first few laps, how much carnage is there. Does anybody spin or crash?
Well,
But,
we have to wait and see. We saw a little bit of that in EU, but drivers managed from what I saw after that. But, I mean, 37, that's... I'm not calling anything. I know the powers that I have. Charles, you seem to forget sometimes, so hopefully we don't have that happen. But there's 60 minutes on the clock to tell us whether or not all 37 of these drivers will make it to the checkered flag. We line up double file. Charles, final predictions before we get into this.
lap 1 carnage.
Well, we'll be going into cops, not at the same speed as the F1 cars, and of course the start-finish line is the other side for those drivers in those extremely fragile machines. But despite that, anything can happen, especially at a circuit such as this one. And we are just coming up towards the start-finish line right now. You can see the straight there, top right of your screen. Everybody still ghosted for the time being, but of course, things are going to change here very, very shortly as we head around the sort of final-ish corner. But ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be the start of Season 14 of the Simrigs Sprint Series. The airfield not filled with airplanes, no, but with their equally as quick counterparts. It's these GT3 cars. Hutchinson on pole position with Rodriguez keeping him company. 4 Lamborghinis in that top 5. Zampatti, a new debutant in the McLaren. And there's a pretty big jump start from Hutchinson. I don't know if that's actually going to hurt him, but he has gotten away already. We head back down to the pack. There's a bit of 3-wide action there as one of the McLarens, I believe that was Carpenter, getting a little bit loose, does get the move back onto Kaiser. And just up ahead, I believe that could be one of the cars. We have somebody sliding way off the circuit. I can't quite tell who that is. Back into traffic he goes. A huge slam on the brakes for one of the drivers. I think that was Landry. That was Flomger. That's Flomger, all the way from 4th down to 37th position as we head through Maggots and Beckett's. It's already kicking off. That's a terrible start from him. We have to go back up front, though. Zampatti holds strong in the back. We do see a bunch of drivers starting to form up with each other, but having to back out as we head through Stowe. Already these drivers jockeying for position. And the season's just started. We've just ticked the first 60 seconds off the clock. And already these guys, side by side, almost 4 wide.
I was about to point that out because I saw something in the chicane, but I do not know what I was seeing as somebody is going off there.
I believe that's
somebody
Carpenter. No, it's
not.
not.
Limits as a Porsche just goes into a wall.
Already, man, this is what you want to see. You want to see chaos. You want to see all this exciting action, and that is exactly what's being given way back in the pack. We got to look at all of these drivers. I think this sort of, can you even call this a mid-pack? This is just basically everybody else that isn't first. This is everybody else. It's Nunez that went off there. who is going to be struggling to get some positions back. This track is damp. The skies are clear. There's a little bit of temperature difference and no wind to speak of. Larry Lanham, position 15, just behind. It is Austin Shirley in the number 458 McLaren, holding it up for the amateur class in what can be described as a fish out of water, as he is sitting pretty with the Pro-Ams, with the pro drivers. Darren Wicks here on the inside there of Hunter Page, who does make a pretty sleek move around the outside in the number 6. That's going to be position number 20 for the Canadian driver. We get around to the start-finish line, and just now we're going to be seeing this sort of deep mid-pack getting these first laps done as MacGyver tries to make something happen. It's going to go down the inside here at Cops. That move is going to get done. Darren Wicks just going to step out of that one, does not want to attempt anything, and that's going to invite Sanchez into the mix. 3 wide there as MacGyver goes wide. He is going to lose not just one, he's going to lose 2 positions, and Darren Wicks holds on to position 22 after losing a little bit. There's so much action going on all over the place. We got Rodriguez, and I think this is Rasco at Stowe. They're so close.
It's Rasco just making a move up the inside, and it seems to have paid out a little bit, but just has to stay behind going into the chicane. There is no space for that McLaren anywhere near that Lamborghini, so he just has to settle back in and wait for another opportunity as he goes off, using a little bit of custom track limits there to get back on, but good save there.
It's great. I think he just got a little bit too eager on the throttle, spun him out. We got some action all the way down here. Chris Good right now in position 27 actually gives us a pretty good overview of what's happening in front. I believe that is Emily Callison in the number 38 Porsche just up ahead, and then one of the Lamborghinis, I believe that's MacGyver, who is doing some work right now. Actually, it might be, it's Flomger. So Flomger already making a charge right now. With Darren Wicks, there's Collison down the inside of Parity, way over the sausage curb, is thankfully able to keep that Porsche pointed in the correct direction. But the number 42 starting to bleed positions already. This race is just everything all the time, all at the same time, as we see Hunter Page take yet another position. This time decides to rip it straight from Shirley's hands, says thank you very much, continues on the charge down the inside there of Tadeusz Lutkis. Does he get that move done? Yes, he does, and could also pick up the 48 there of Dylan Kaiser. This is for position 15. I think the move's done. I think he's just pulled enough ahead. He has. Hunter Page, 3 corners, 3 positions, only 5 minutes off the clock. How much further can this guy drive?
Pretty far, as far as I can tell. So very impressive from Flomger to go from what was it, 4th to 37th to 23rd in 5 minutes. That's quite some parkour there, but there we go, 22nd now.
Yep. Timothy Flomger.
Just chasing down everybody in front of him here. Flomger, just a man on a mission that wants to get as far high up as he can.
Oh, absolutely. This man has been a weapon on track every single season. He's set the tires down, and he is looking to do just that. 1 minute, though. Eduardo Sanchez, a returning face here, and of course, the Weeb Machine. He's got a different anime girl this time. I'm not quite brushed up on all of them, so I'm sure someone in chat will be able to tell me which 2 those are. But he has just made a move on Kishan Hall there in the Aston Martin, and just behind, well, wouldn't you know it, none other than Timothy Flomger. 22nd position, could be eyeing up 21st. That he does around the outside. Do you think Flomger can make it all the way back up by the end of this race?
It is certainly a possibility, but the further he goes, the harder it gets. So, unsure. It just depends on how fast, or more of how slow, are the leaders.
Well, that's a very interesting question. Oh, we've got one of the
That's an interesting line.
Austin Shirley dropping way down the grid. I think maybe missing his break point a little bit. Just settles into position 17. Hasn't lost all too much, but that does give Lutkis a chance. Down the inside and just behind, that is going to be Michael Landry, excuse me, who is trying to get a move done on the fellow McLaren. Surely not giving this up as easily. Wrestles the position back from the 4-ringed car behind. The 727 can't clear 458. And this position stays with Shirley. But for how long? Can he hold on? If he can find the pace, he could be fine. Could also catch up to Rodriguez and even Kaiser, who are just up ahead. But after these first few minutes, things have settled pretty nicely. We rejoin Darren Wicks as he's got a scary parody all over him, and even the fellow Porsche there of Emily Callison. And as I was about to say something, that move's been done.
Yeah, that move has been done, and we have a yellow flag on the track.
We do have a yellow. It's the 88. That is going to be Phil Brown, who goes into the pit lane.
It's clear now. But holy Jesus, what a run from that Audi there. That was very close to contact, but just made it without it.
Yeah, Tadas Lutkis. One of those drivers you got to be careful of every single time he's out on track, as Callison almost goes into the back, does swipe it. Darren Wicks, what is that save? Like it was nothing at all, the contact. You think about how the fact that this track is damp, those curbs have to be probably a little bit wetter, but Darren Wicks, a walk in the park, makes an incredible save. Hats off to him. Callison maybe going to be backing off for now. Just thinking, you know what? Maybe I'll take another stab at it later down the line, because right now that is not going to be the case, as Lutkis and Flomger throwing hands for position 19, and it looks like Flomger with a much better right hook does get that move done. Flomger into the top 20.
Yes, Flomger into the top 20. So, what's that?
That is from 4th to 37th. 18 positions in, what, 10 minutes? We'll say? Well,
yeah.
If he keeps that trend up, what is 18 positions away from position 19, Charles?
P2.
Sure, close enough. No, I doubt it's going to continue like that, but if Flomger goes from 4th to last to 1st, I will eat a shirt. I will print the OR logo on it, and I will eat the whole thing. So
you do that every day, but weird flex. Either way.
Oh my
Either way, we have Flores and who's that? Shirley in the McLaren behind, who's looking to get past, but not managing it so far, and just takes a custom line through there.
Yeah, these drivers have to be careful. In EU, we had quite a few track limits, or quite a few drive-throughs for track limits by the end of the race, and right now there's no rain, so you can't really attribute it to that. The clouds are covering the circuit again, so it's a nice standard British gray out there, but yeah, that water not being cleared quickly. Larry Lanham, I think, may have not gotten the best exit there, as we do see Hunter Page up into P13, a move down the inside. Is there anything... Oh, I was about to say, is there anything this guy can't do? And it turns out, kind of. Because that was a position gained and then immediately ripped out.
Yeah, just a little bit too late on the brakes. You have to take in mind when driving in these conditions that you just have to brake earlier. You cannot afford to, use your dry reference points, because they will just basically not work and you will end in a wall. So that is certainly not what these drivers want, or what anybody wants really. But yeah, Flomger seems to have gained another position this lap, as Michael Landry is gaining a position on Hall. Just got a bad exit there, so
yeah,
a lot of action everywhere on the track.
Yeah, this is the time I wish I had Mullick's setup of like 38 computers and about 1,000,001 camera angles, but I only got one to work with, so we'll do the best with what we can. Jose Flores has to defend down the inside there. Austin Shirley, very good run from the number 485. It almost looks like he's one of the only amateur class drivers, but I promise you there are more just beyond the fold behind Callison, and of course some of these drivers yet to be classified, so we'll be seeing if they get moved around later on in the season. Of course, even though you're maybe in amateur class to start, it's not out of the question to make a move up the grid a little bit and go into Pro-Am. We've seen it before. It's happened to me. And speaking of moves up the grid, Timothy Flomger picks up another position over the Audi of Tadas Lutkus.
That has already happened 2 laps ago.
Oh, I guess it did.
So Flomger makes it around Sanchez.
This
it's
guy.
Just corner after corner.
It is. There's nothing that can stop Flomger. It feels like. Yeah, he spun out at the start. I don't know if it was contact or if it was, just the wet track conditions doing him in, but has not let that stop him in any way, shape, or form. He has just not stopped, and he will not stop, because now he's eyeing up Rodriguez for position 16 rather. Rodriguez, that is Felipe, by the way, not Mariano. Mariano is up in 4th position right now, just about I thought for a second was going to go at Loverink, but I think is actually dealing with his fellow countryman of Aldo Zampati, who does get that move done just as I was about to click over. So for this man right here in the 69, a nice little move is going to get him position number 4. Rodriguez, though, losing a little bit of pace, goes back down the inside. There is going to be contact.
Oh,
almost spins himself out. That almost invites Keogh, who just drops the shoulder to go for position number 5. You wonder if he's going to be too pleased with that one, Mariano. And now Brian Rasco is behind. And then just beyond that, there's Carpenter and Thompson, and I believe Portis as well, who just enter frame. But up the grid, there's action everywhere. Larry Lanham, Hunter Page. Is this going to be another position for the Canadian driver? Let's check. Let's see. Not quite yet.
Not quite yet, but the fight is certainly on as the BMW goes off the line, and that is a position.
It looked like Lanham maybe went a little too deep into the corner. The Lambo, I don't know. No?
No, it just looked like the BMW snapped. When you get on the throttle, the car sometimes just snaps,
Oh,
That's exactly what happened, and might be a little bit of problems for Lanham as he is teleported in the pits. And meanwhile, Timothy Flomger, position number 16 is his, and he is after Rodriguez.
Yep, Rodriguez, Felipe here, just he lost the 1 position to Shirley and then gave it up to the number 19 there, Flomger. I believe it was Sanchez, excuse me, but Rodriguez really struggling right now, trying to find that pace that he's lost. Maybe he's going to look to just defend position 17. Look at the welcoming committee right behind him. Lutkus, McIver, and I believe Michael Landry as well. 2 of these drivers we've seen a lot of. The third one, McIver, may be related to one of the greatest handymen of all time. We're not quite certain, but what we can be certain of right now is that he's putting up one hell of a fight there in the midfield. We do have Loverink getting that first pit stop done, maybe banking on this track getting drier and drier with no rain, at least for the next 30 minutes. That track is greasy, so that dry line will be coming to fruition in, I would say, a relatively short amount of time, considering the number of cars on the track. You guys at home, you see those little orange boxes with the white numbers. That is just telling these drivers how many mandatory pit stops they have to do before the end of the race. For this one, it is just 1, and that means putting on a fresh set of tires. You can't just throw some fuel in and get back out there, so at least one new set of rubber has to go on, and the pit window is how long these drivers have to actually get that mandatory stop done. If they don't, they will be handed a nice hefty penalty by the game that we don't really bother changing because, well, why would we? It's more than fine. We think it's fair. You have plenty of time to go in. So with pit strategy, I mean, it changes driver to driver. No two cars even are ever going to pit at the same time.
Well, it could happen, but the strategy is always different, and well, you could pit at the exact same time as the other driver, but why would you do that?
That's true. It depends on how much you actually push the car. We talked about it earlier in EU. We talked about the graining of the tires. We talked about blistering the tires. We talked about, operating windows in terms of temperature and tire pressure. Very important to get right in, just sim racers or even real life racing. Because having too much pressure is not going to give you the grip you want, and having too little pressure is, well, going to do the same thing, but almost makes your car feel a bit sluggish. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to ride a bike with a flat tire. I know I did once. It was not easy by any means, so especially when you're going at, triple-digit speeds in these GT3s, that could cause a couple of problems, but if your setup is just right, well, you've got really nothing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, nobody here has any flat tires. Let's hope.
Ideally, they don't.
But another interesting thing that I have noticed here is that, well, a lot of these drivers seem to be lagging at the moment, and a lot of these drivers are on different tire compounds. As I saw that KO is actually on wet tires, and another Ferrari there is on wet tires. And some of these drivers are sticking it out on dries, which may or may not be a good decision.
Well, it depends on how quickly this dry line can get cleared. Of course, if you're in the wet, you want the track to have moisture on it as long as possible, so that way you get the most out of those treaded tires. But if you're one of those guys that gambled on slicks, well, hopefully it's all paying off. You can see that dry line starting to form, but there is still going to be a fair bit of time before the track is mostly considered, I would say, green. Not quite fast, but the green will be the next step up. But I don't think we'll be seeing that for a good long while in terms of how much time we have left in the race. One thing I do like to sort of mention in terms of tires, for those that may be wondering, if you look at a car, how you can tell right away if a car has slicks or wets. Hold on, Jose Flores is telling me to just shut my mouth as he goes down the inside there of the 458 of Shirley. That's going to be position number 9. Eduardo Sanchez going to be joining the fray here as we head into Maggots and Beckett side by side for the 2 up ahead, but it will be Flores that decides he's had enough. He's going to just surge ahead because, well, Shirley is going to back off. There's a bit of a wiggle there from the Porsche. That slows down Shirley, but Sanchez, though, was far enough back, gets to keep his foot on the throttle in the slipstream of the fellow McLaren. Up to Stowe we go. He's on the inside. He's going to have this position just a little bit later on the brakes. Does get the move done. He's going to be eyeing up Flores now for position number 9, or sorry, number 8 rather, as things are a little bit messy on the scoring pylon, but not quite close enough late on the brakes, though. Sanchez makes contact, spins himself and the Porsche out. That is going to be a hands-up, red faces of embarrassment moment as Sanchez all over that sausage curb, and he falls down. Position 19 for the Mexican driver. Not what you want.
Yes, right about everybody goes through, but the person who would benefit the most of that is Timothy Flamger, who is now P10, if I'm not mistaken.
He is, but you have to keep in mind some of these front runners have come in for a fresh set,
P9.
and there's P9. So already decides that he does not care and he's going to do what he's going to do. So we'll see where he comes out after his pit stop. what I was saying, or what I wanted to say earlier, rather, when it comes to tires, if you've ever heard people talk about, oh, he's on wets, oh, he's on slicks, and maybe we don't have the HUD pulled up, or the proper HUD overlay pulled up. If you look on the walls of the tires, if you see the Pirelli logo, that is going to mean slick tires, and if you see nothing, that means wet. Obviously, when these cars are running, it's a little bit harder to see what the tires are, but if I do a little bit of handy-dandy camera work a la Mullock does, you can almost see, well, not a lot. You don't see that yellow blur, so that means Flomger is not on the wet tires, or not on the slick tires. Sorry, I'm thinking backwards. No, Flomger is not on the slick tires. He is on the wets. There is no Pirelli logo, so he will be banking on these wet parts of the track, and it seems as though the wet tires have actually been the call, considering the charge he's had from 37th. Whoa, big lunge down the inside. Rodriguez makes some contact. That's going to push Flomger off his line, and that does...
it's going to allow McKeever to go through.
Yep, McKeever and even Landry. No, Landry backs out, so... That's going to be maybe looked at, see if there's a penalty depending on whether things get handed back. Cashan Hall right now with the BMW of Kaiser behind and Flores in the Porsche. So a couple of Germans chasing down Britain. We've seen that plenty of times, of course, as we see just up ahead. Flomger going to battle with Hutchinson. Hutchinson has clear, or sorry, not Hutchinson. I am somewhere else. That is the McLaren, rather, of Landry. So yeah, it's down to position 11 for number 19. Things are everything. There's so much action. There's so many things that are going on. I promise you I'm trying to get all of it. I can only work so quickly. Although Skylar Lovrink right now is eyeing up Parity. Does get the move down the inside. Parity's not going to put up much of a fight for that one. But Lovrink with fastest lap at the moment, a 2:02.275. Do we see this fastest lap trading hands, Charles?
No.
No?
Well, as the race progresses, obviously there is going to be a faster lap, but as far as I'm concerned, it's either going to be Hutchinson or Lovrink that holds it.
Well, with this track getting a little bit drier each time and a good chunk of drivers that still have to pit, we could be seeing that fastest lap swap hands by the end of the race. It's just a matter of time, I think. But just keep that number locked in your mind. Hold on. That is Clifford, who tries to do a little bit of a switcheroo on the 21 of Sanchez, but has he gotten a better exit? That's the big question. We look side by side right now. You can see a little bit of sidewall damage there on the McLaren, and Clifford just slips on through. Absolutely no problems there, and he will gladly take that. There's Lovrink, and is Lovrink looking to not only gain a position, but to push that fastest lap even lower? Keep that 2-minute 2.275 locked in your head, folks. If it ever changes to someone else, we will let you know exactly who it is and exactly what their time is. But Clifford, getting around Sanchez, just walks away with the position.
Does indeed, but he has the Lovrink now that Sanchez has to deal with. But then, Lovrink, obviously the fastest man on the track so far, would be hard for Clifford to defend, but seeing that the Lambo was top 4 in qualifying, shouldn't be too big of an issue.
No, not at all. Not in the slightest. Can't count any of these guys out. The sun, though, speaking of being out, the sun is out right now. You can see those shadows being cast. So, with an ambient temperature of 18 and with a track temp of 23, no wind, but still 37 cars in the running, this track will be getting a lot quicker, and I think we will be seeing someone else pick up fastest lap, or maybe, well, Hutchinson actually just picks it up. I speak too soon. A 2:01.33. You were right. It was going to be either Hutchinson or somebody else, but yeah, there it is. The 7.6 or the 7:26 with a 2-minute 1.33. Do we see the sub 2 minute?
we might if the track improves, but so far, no.
No.
So far, with these conditions, it's not gonna happen. No way. But Plunger has gone into the pit lane and is now 22nd, so that is only a 15th place gain, or more of a, what is that? An 18th place loss so far for him. So he's got a lot more work to do now.
Yep,
A lot more.
he does, but I mean, we saw it at the start from 4th to 37th, fought his way back up the grid, goes into the pits. There's some drivers ahead of him that have to get new tires on, so he'll gain some extra positions off of that. But depending on how he's able to keep his Lamborghini going, could be seeing him into the top 10 by the end of the race if he's able to, well, keep the pace up and if the drivers ahead are as slow as he would like. Right now, Jorge Nunez with Ben Keogh in hot pursuit. And it's a pretty decent run for both of these guys. A little bit of lag there, and actually a slide from Nunez in the bit of packet loss, I think it was, as Keogh starts...
That might be a little bit of netcode there.
It might be.
It might just be, because that looked like Keogh just netcoded into Nunez's car, but it did not register.
Yeah, but thankfully
So-
Nunez saves it.
Yeah. Just saves the car and keeps on going as the track does improve. And that is Michael Landry in the pits.
Yep, so if anybody is out there on wet tires, there really is not any wet patch to speak of. There's no place you can go offline, cool the tires down, and then get back on the racing line and, you know, try to gain any sort of ground. But with the track going fast, things are pretty bone dry at this point, so those treads are going to be hurting. So if someone's gone on to wets in their pit stop, they're going to have to go back in.
I do not see a reason on earth why you would go on with the wets right now, or even earlier, because it wasn't. It was going to be dry. Let's be real. So they knew that, and I hope that nobody has changed to the wet tires, because that would be frankly not smart. And well, Timothy Flamger with the fastest lap of the race.
Timothy Flomger just put in a 2:01.22, so that's good news for him. Unfortunately, we got some bad news out there. Michael Landry picking up a stop-go 30 that should be changed over to a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, as he is just all over the place right now, doing a little bit of ground work here at Silverstone. I think the employees here appreciate someone else doing the work for once.
Yeah, I mean, just put on 40 drivers, the chances that the entirety of Silverstone will have the shortest grass in the world, so yeah.
Maybe go right down to the
Those
road at
are
that
the
point.
chances. Of course.
Chad Thiele, a driver we haven't really talked about much, is only within 10 positions of Austin Shirley. Thiele we've seen a little bit of in the OOR, but 32nd position for him. Tim Parkinson as well for Great Lakes Racing. He's down in 33rd. Edson Mike, we didn't see him a lot last season. We saw him in a few races, but not as many as I'm sure he would have liked. The only Lexus on the grid. You gotta throw some respect, and also because it's the only car on the grid that actually we don't run custom liveries on. I believe it was for branding reasons, if I'm not mistaken.
I wouldn't know, but yeah.
I could have sworn that
As
was
far-
the problem.
As far as I know, by the rule or the regulations, you are not allowed to put direct competitors of other of SRO or ACC or OR on your car. So it might be just that or something else that I do not know the reason of, but I do not care, because right now Timothy Flamger from 22nd out of the pits already up to P17, and somebody else has the fastest lap.
Yep, fastest lap. If I had to bet on it, it's Hutchinson again. A 1:58.92. So it looks like, Charles, your little prediction of no sub 2 minute was proven incorrect.
Oh, no, it was actually correct because I said it's gonna happen if the track improves, and the track did improve. But back then, it wasn't as good as this. So those conditions, no chance. But now, yeah, now is different.
Well, I eat my words, and they taste pretty nice. But Hutchinson, though, great start for this season from the 726. We'll wait and see what can be done as this season progresses. We'll look here with Chris Good getting around, or sorry, not getting around, actually, having to deal with Braden Thompson, who does make up that position up to 14, or up to 13th, sorry, for him. So a little off-camera action. Checking around, Kevin Parody in position 22. And he's got some company just up ahead. It's Sanchez, and it appears to be one of the back marker cars. One of the BMWs. I believe that's Kaiser that has to get out of the way and is waiting to the straight to do it, hopefully. Of course, the drivers behind that have to get around do get 3 flashes before penalties are dished out. And, well, Kaiser's not making it easy.
That's not Kaiser, I think. It's somebody else.
No, it's not Kaiser. I apologize. I think that's Lanham, actually. Oh, it is Lanham. I apologize, Kaiser. My bad. I just saw BMW. I saw one. I thought it was.
Oh, yeah, but Lanham is just not getting out of the way. What's he doing there?
No, he's had a very good opportunity to let drivers through. Maybe waiting for another straight to come up. Or no.
Well, that's an interesting place for sure. But he let him through, so hopefully no penalty for him. But that was catchy to an extent.
Yeah, it's a strange, like you said, it's a strange spot to let somebody overtake you as a back marker. But thankfully, things went through cleanly. Nobody got hurt, as far as we can tell. And from there, well, the race continues on. Landry, I should probably specify Michael Landry, has gone into the pits to serve a stop-go 30. So it looks like that has not been changed over. So he'll have some time to think about not removing the pit limiter too early as we ride with Tadas Lutkist going around Hall there, and does still have Flores behind. The Chilean has not given up at all, has not really decided that he's done. He's making this as difficult as humanly possible for Lutkist.
Yes, he is indeed, and he has got a great run here, but the Porsche has no straight line speed, as he just found out. Yep, and he just has to settle back in. With the Porsche, you only overtake in the corners, because on the straights, it is, well, pathetic.
Yep. Also, quick correction, Flores is from Puerto Rico. I mixed up my flags again. I did that earlier in EU, and I'm going to do it again, so my apologies. I like to pride myself on like knowing the countries and their flags, and then it pops up, and then I don't. So, Jose Flores, though, still in 18th. And, Charles, it's good that you mentioned sort of the lap speed.
Right there. Right there. The Audi has a drive-through for track limits.
Oh, look at that. So Flores doesn't even have to work for that position. He's just got to wait for Lutkis to go in. 3 laps to serve the drive-through. So, for one, great news.
Yeah, that should be P17.
Yeah, easy P17, no problems at all. But anyways, or actually, yeah, it will be P17.
Yeah, will be P17, and you remember our bet earlier?
No.
Will Flamger make it to top 10?
Well, he's position 13. He's got to get around Page, Portis, and Wilson, and he's got 24 minutes to do so.
But take in mind, Nunez is still yet to pit, so he's only got to get Page and Portis.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, he's currently about, I would say, 8 seconds behind Page. Oh, seven
It's
seconds behind Page. He's closing that gap very quickly.
But then look at Page, almost 8 seconds back to Portis. So, yeah, Nunez is going to go in, Flomger is going to gain an extra position, but he still has to basically take, 16 some odd seconds out of the drivers in front as Nunez goes in. So, there has to be some absolute hyper speed underneath underneath the Lamborghini, which sort of calls back to your point about the Porsche as we look at Lucas and Flores again. You said that the Porsche doesn't have the best top end when it comes to the field of cars, and at a track like Silverstone, that is very important. This a very, a lot of long straight sections. You have these very fast corners that these cars are going through. So for things like the Lamborghini, for the McLaren, for the Ferrari, it's going to benefit them pretty well. But for something like the Porsche, that's not going to be quite the case.
Yeah, the Porsche just makes up its time in the corners, so it equals out because all the time it gains in the corners, it loses on the straight. So you're back to square one on the start of basically every single lap.
Yep, that's how the game goes, really. How these cars handle in real life. There's some benefits here and there for all of them, and well, that's how it plays out. There are some BOP updates that do happen for the game. We just had one. Well, I say just had one. We had it with the 1.9 update, and that was, I don't know, a few months ago, and we had a couple of small tweaks since. But for the most part, these cars are pretty much in the most up-to-date state that they can be in this sim. So pretty close, and you'll be seeing these strengths and weaknesses play out as the season plays on. I think one race I'm very much looking forward to in terms of sort of the speed cars versus the handling cars is going to be Suzuka when you split it right down in half. That first half, very technical, a lot of those sort of long, slower corners. Then you mirror, or not mirror that, but you have the opposite of that with the latter half. It feels like you never have to let off at all. So we'll be seeing cars gain and lose all over the place, except unless it's something like here at Silverstone where it's just speed.
I actually very much disagree with you because what's a better circuit for that exact same test with the cars?
Is it Spa?
It's Bathurst.
Oh, that's true. Yes, you have
all the straights, you have all the corners, and you have slow corners, fast corners. The half of the entire mountain section is taken flat, so it's just a matter of which car is the quickest there, and well, which driver is the more insane to send it there.
Well, we'll have to find that out when we get there. That's actually a very good point. Yeah, you have sectors 1 and 3. That's just the straight line. The sector 1, obviously, you go up mountain straight before you actually head into the mountain itself. For sector 2, sector 3, you're coming down and then up to the chase as you go down Conrad's into the chase, and then you get back to the start finish straight. But that entire sector 2 is straight up just, hey, how does your car handle? Let's take it for a test drive and see what we can manage. But with the narrowness of that circuit, I think we'll be seeing maybe a bit more chaos. I wouldn't be too surprised if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, after all, it's racing, so it's a bold statement, but I'll say that more chaos equals more exciting races.
It does, and you got to think, if we have this many cars at Bathurst as we do right now, all it takes is one person to completely mess something up, especially in the mountain section, and everything comes to a standstill as Nunez fires it down the inside of Chris Good. 3, 2, 1, well, that's the countdown for him to lose position 25 to Nunez. And, well, that is going to be a position gained for the Mexican driver looking to gain some ground after his unfortunate set of events. But despite those, has not let that stop him at all. Looking around the grid very quickly, everybody has gone on to a fresh set of tires. Hutchinson drops a 57.89 as the fastest lap here in the race, and that is almost actually that's a little over a second quicker, almost a second quicker of the second fastest lap, which belongs to Aldo Zampati from Argentina, who has a 58.61. So 0.8 about the gap from Argentina to Canada. You wonder if these guys were closer together, maybe would they be on top of each other?
Sure.
Sure. Well, looking at the lap times, though, no, it's about 0.9 to Hutchinson. So, never mind. Maybe in a strictly one-lap scenario, maybe. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But over a race distance, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and we just saw a familiar face there. Timothy Flamger. Let's see. The gap is now only 3 seconds to Page.
There's Page right there, just exiting bottom left of the screen. But look at the gap that Page has up to Wilson, 9.4 seconds. So when Flamger gets around, I mean, it's probably going to be more than 10 seconds. Unless, by some miracle, Wilson does something dumb. Knock on wood. Got to be careful of the powers I have as a commentator that some of us forget, Charles. But we'll keep a pin on that, as Lutkis has to let one of the Lamborghinis through. That was the 726 of Hutchinson. So these front runners catching, or sort of cutting their way through the tail end of the field as we get just about under that 17-minute mark in the race. Hutchinson a long way clear of Lovering. Once that pylon actually updates, we'll let you know what that gap is. You can see from Rodriguez to Clifford, though, it's 18.3. 21.8 to Lovering. Hutchinson, I've heard of dominating a race, but this is just ridiculous. This is like Max Verstappen levels of ridiculous.
Just a little bit of a gap.
A little bit of a gap. That's a very big little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, you know. Here and there, a couple of seconds.
Yeah, just a couple of hundredths around the course of a lap to keep things interesting.
Yeah,
Chris Good, hold on. Chris Good, a huge lunge down the inside there on Emily Callison. But the number 38 fights back for the position. Does get the move done. You can just barely see that McLaren peeking out through the rear window, and a very inside line there for the 321 to try to gain some ground. Hasn't worked at all, and in fact loses a little bit of it through Copse. Out the exit, Callison gets a better exit. Good not in the same sort of boat. His wings being clipped a little bit, but will possibly gain time here through Maggots and Beckett's, and then down the straight should be able to use the superior top end of the McLaren to catch back up. But a little grassy excursion might have something to say about it.
Yeah, I would say that that move from 321 was not good.
I was gonna make the joke, but I didn't, because it's too low hanging fruit. Not to say that I'm against such a joke, but his standards are something or other. I don't know.
We have none.
Yeah, I know. Don't remind me.
Yeah, have to be reminded every time, you know. Either way, Kaiser here is under pressure from Wicks. Yeah, and that's right about it, as we have no action there.
No, but Wicks does have about half a tenth faster a lap, it looks like. So it's just about catching up at what I would consider to be the right time. Oh, it's all over the place. Darren Wicks maybe got the run at the wrong time. Thankfully, was able to keep himself from rear-ending the BMW. And they both carry on.
And we have a yellow flag somewhere.
Well, it's been cleared. Oh, it's the 77 of Edson Mike going off, but able to rejoin the circuit safely.
Yeah, and Darren Wicks gets an amazing run here as Kaiser just forgets what Apex is and goes wide.
Yep, but can't.
Wicks still just can't get past because he's got the pace, but it's just very, very slightly.
Yep, and just getting right up on the bumper at the
Yeah.
worst possible time, and he's got to let Hutchinson through. He can't do
Yeah.
anything about it, and that's going to hurt him as he has to catch back up to Kaiser, although, no, down the inside for Hutchinson, right where he should be. So the battle will continue. We'll leave it on the side there for next time. Checking back in, we've got a pretty good gaggle of cars, actually. We have MacGyver, we've got Rodriguez, Sanchez, and I believe that is Flores. So we have 3 drivers from South and Central America. And then if you want to count Puerto Rico as Caribbean, you can. I don't know if you would count it as North or South, but either way, pretty solid spread of drivers, although Flores hasn't gotten the best out of any of them. We're right on board here with Rodriguez. You can just see MacGyver up ahead and Sanchez behind. So the 3 Zs from 15th to 17th, but nobody's sleeping on this race, that's for sure, as we have just about 12 minutes and 15 seconds to go here. Hutchinson still leads this race by a very, very large margin. And it is MacGyver that does get loose, as does Rodriguez a little bit around the outside, possibly for Sanchez. He gets not just 1, he's going to get 2 in 2 corners through the chicane. He's wide on the exit, but it doesn't matter. Gets the power down. The car grips up beautifully. And Sanchez from 16th to 14th. That is exactly what he was hoping for. And now he's going to push all 3 of those guys back into each other. And that is hopefully going to allow him to build more of a gap. Jose Flores with the battle as well is going to be joining the party onto the fellow Porsche there of Rodriguez, right side, now left side, or left side, now right side. I got things mixed up, but they carry on. Porsche v Porsche with a slipstream to 1 should benefit a little bit, but this straight way too short. Just up ahead, it is Sanchez that goes defensive, and does that invite MacGyver back in to his rightfully owned 14th position? Not quite. Sanchez cannot rest. Neither can MacGyver, nor Rodriguez, nor Flores. These guys will be, I would say, be battling for 14th by the time we reach checkered flag.
Well, it is certainly possible, but you know what I've noticed? Look at Flamger.
I did. He's 11th. 6 seconds, 6.4 off of Wilson. And Rodriguez as well gets around. Look at MacGyver. Yep, he's almost there. Let's actually, we'll take a peek. We'll see what's going on. So here's Andrew Wilson with the Purple Cobras. Again, another a team that he's raced with before. And then Flomger, there he is. Oh, goodness. Charles, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. The last lap for Wilson, how fast do you think it was?
I would say slower than Flamger.
If you had to put a number on it, of course.
Well, 1:58.9 maybe?
For Wilson?
Yeah.
So a 1:58.9 is actually Flomger's last lap.
Oh.
Wilson's last lap was a 2:01.6. That is almost 3 seconds. I don't think it's out of the question for Flomger to catch up.
Well, I mean, I was hopeful of Wilson's time. Give me that.
Yep, you had faith. Unfortunately, faith is running out, as 5.8 seconds is all that stands between Flomger and a recovery drive into the top 10. I forgot to mention this in EU, and I just remembered it now. We do have a little bit of like awards that we sort of, I would say, give out at the end, or at the end of a race into the start of next for the drivers to vote on, if I can find it somewhere. I don't know if it's actually here, if we got rid of it. Either way, though, if I had to sort of nominate somebody for driver of the day, it would 100% be Timothy Flomger. But if he did finish outside of the top 10, I would have to say Hutchinson, just because of the absolutely amazing drive he's had in this race, as Rodriguez loses it through Maggots and Beckett's, is able to keep the car pointed in relatively... Or sorry, that was not Maggots and Beckett's. I don't know my corners. Or no, it actually was. Jesus. It is.
Because on Silverstone, so it's close enough somewhere.
Anyways,
it wasn't good.
He was,
but
he was full opposite lock. Full opposite lock from Rodriguez. Kept himself together. Hats off to you, my friend. That was amazing. And that gives, well, Flores a chance to just say goodbye. Thank you for playing. Unfortunately, I have to get around this back marker, but that was a bit of a heart in the throat moment there for Rodriguez.
Certainly, but he's not helping my statement that the Porsche is the best car. Well, that's aged badly.
Yeah, it has just a little bit. Definitely not because you drive it or anything. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Oh.
We're going to rejoin here in the top 10, though. 25 seconds between Hutchinson and Lovering. That's not even fair. That's just smurfing at this point. Zampati behind Roscoe. I mean, okay, so let's look at the top 10. So, 7. Or, sorry, no. Numbers. What? Eight of the cars are either Lamborghinis or McLarens. There's a Honda of Portis, which is kind of amazing because the Honda got reeled into the pack. So it's not the dominant force that we've seen in past iterations of the game. And then Loverink is the only Ferrari who's up there. The next Ferrari is Kevin Parody, and that's all the way down in position 19.
Well, one thing is sure for Parody. He can say that he's the second fastest Ferrari.
You know what's funny? He would say exactly the same thing. When we did, when him and I were in the booth for North America, and we had 2 splits for this region, he would race in the first, he would race in blue, and then he would come into the booth for red. And there were moments where he was in his car, and another driver who was in the same car was way up the field, and I would talk about his position. He would go, yeah, I'm down in position, whatever, but, I was the second fastest of those cars overall. So, yeah, that is exactly what he would say. I hate how you were scarily accurate with that.
Well, I mean, that is exactly what I would say, because, well, if I'm not mistaken, I might just be the best Porsche in EU.
Aren't you like the only Porsche in EU? It's okay, we all go through puberty at least 3 times. Right now, though, Keshen Hall behind Kevin Parody, just speaking about him. This is position 19 at the moment, and one of the Lamborghinis, that's Hutchinson. It seems like every time we try to go a little further back in the pack, Hutchinson is just like, hey, I'm going to get my screen time because I didn't get any at the start. Thank you very much. So I'm going to make up for it by messing everything up down the grid. So Hutchinson, damn you, but also great work out there. Proud of you. One thing we can also look at is the gap right now. Flomger to Wilson, 4.5. It struggled actually to dip under 5 seconds. I think we had a couple of laps or so where it wasn't decreasing as quickly as we saw, but 4 minutes and 45 seconds, and Andrew Wilson has Callison behind, and I can't quite tell which. That's not Shirley. It can't be. It's someone else. But anyways, that actually might be Michael Landry. No, it's not. I lied. Anyways, though, yeah, it's still a good enough time for Flomger to catch up. But it's gonna be dicey. I don't know if he'll be able to pull it off because he has to get around 2 back markers and then catch up to Wilson, and he only has 2 laps, 3 laps.
Okay, well, look at it this way: he has 4 minutes with a flat 3-second gap. That is, if he just does 1 second per minute, then it's technically possible. Technically.
Yep.
if these back markers would just like move over.
Well, that's the thing. There's Callison getting her, I wouldn't say moved over, but getting skirted around. There was a bit of contact there with Chris Good in the 321, and now Flomger has cleared the back markers, and there's only one car that he wants. That's Wilson. 3.6 seconds, 3.5 minutes. There is nothing in the way of either of these two. If we open the track map, you can see the 674 of who is that? That is a driver up the grid, it looks like. Or actually, no, it's down the grid, apparently.
Down the grid?
That's Parkinson.
Down the grid.
So Parkinson's a long way off. So I don't think he's going to be coming into play. But you know what? Stranger things have happened right now. Parity. More pressure being applied right now by Hall after the Hutchinson incident. There is the slipstream, pulls to the left side. And Parity, I think, just going to forfeit that position. Slots in behind. There's Hutchinson getting a little bit more screen time, of course. Well, you know what? Just to satiate him. There you go. There you go, Hutchinson. You get a little bit of camera action on you. We'll see you again when the race is over. But, wait, was that not Hutchinson? Oh, I'm an idiot. It wasn't.
It is Hutchinson.
It is.
That is indeed Hutchinson.
Some of these cars look a little too similar for my taste, but...
And we have a yellow flag.
And we do have a yellow out on circuit. It is the 77. Another spin for that car, it looks like. That's been Edson Mike.
Good day.
No, Edson Mike had a spin earlier in the race, and another one tacked on there. I think just, I don't know, maybe getting a little bit too eager with the car. And there's Flomger around Hall, who does just pull off to the side. Something that just got mentioned is that Kevin is also on the podium for drivers whose last names start with the letter P. It is a great achievement. If we look through the grid, we have Portis. He is the highest driver with the P on his name, and then it's Page, and you go down, and it is Parity. So Parity, third place overall for drivers with last names who start with the letter P. So it's all about perspective.
Of course, it is an amazing achievement. Just like me being the quickest in EU.
Right, of course.
With the Porsche, of course.
How many other Porsches are in EU?
Mine. 3.
3. Okay.
And 2 races tonight, but come on.
All right,
give me some credit.
Okay, I'll give it to you. It's a fair point. Yeah. I apologize. Anyways, rejoining Rasco and Zampati here, P6. These guys have been pretty much with each other for a decent chunk of the race. Rasco does get loose, is able to wrestle that car back into proper driving order. Zampati, for a moment, thought he could get something out of it, but that has not been the case. However, Hutchinson, last lap for the 726. We'll wait for Loverink to cross the line. We'll see what the gap is. Fastest lap is still that 57.89. Has not been able to go any faster. Yeah, what's your guess? What's the gap looking like?
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay. I'll go crazy.
30? Okay.
Probably like 25.
I'll go with like 28. I'll go with 28 seconds. So let's see. Lovering crosses the line. The gap is 28 seconds. I was right. Let's go.
Well, you sure don't have an overlay that tells you that?
No, I don't. Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't give me the gap. Like, it'll give... The thing with the broadcast tool is that it will give me the gap to cars relative to the others. So right now, the gap for Loverink says about 2 seconds, but that's to a back marker. And then it's like 5 seconds for Hutchinson, but obviously that's a little tricky. It does get into the double digits. Jaden Hernandez is... about 10 seconds. Emily Callison is at like 12 seconds relative. So it does display that. It does display gaps, but again, it's not what you would think. Right now... And
Tim Flander has failed to get to the top 10, so he is not anymore driver of the day.
Well, hold on. He just started the last lap. He's 1.7 seconds back from Wilson. You can look at how he's just throwing this car over the curbs at... And, okay, never mind. Might have just screwed him. My apologies, but
Okay, I mean, what are the chances that he passes Wilson by the end of this lap? Come on. It's
well,
impossible,
I don't know,
basically.
Charles. Have you ever spun out in the last lap of a race?
No, but I did do donuts on the last corner
Yeah,
and
that
still
I
finished
didn't see.
having the
Well, in the
done.
meantime, Hutchinson finishes the race. I completely forgot about him for a second. So Hutchinson, we'll see what the final gap looks like. It was 28 seconds when Loverink came around, and we'll see what the finalized looks like. There's Shirley, Rodriguez, MacGyver, Hall, Parody. They get the job done. 16th down to 20th, so Parody into the top 20. And Skylar Loverink comes around the final corner. What's it going to be? 28.4, so only a couple of tenths there. Jonathan Clifford onto the podium. Mariano Rodriguez from Argentina, a new name here in the Sprint Series, rounds the final corner. That's going to be P number 4. Ben Keogh has a pretty comfortable gap down to Rasco. Two drivers with very similar looking liveries. Try as he might, though, Zampati can't get the job done. Has to settle for 7th position. Austin Carpenter does get around in 8th. Portis is in 9th. We check with Wilson. There's Flomger. He's so close, just a second, but unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be too little, too late. Those back markers, I think, might have been the nail in the coffin for the number 19. So he won't be driver of the day in top 10, but at the very least, best of the rest. He started 4th, got all the way down to 37th, and, well, he managed to climb back into P11. Hunter Page crosses the line, 12th position. What a great drive for the number 6 we saw throughout this race. Braden Thompson, 13th overall. And then it's Sanchez Flores goes 15th. And we go down. Emily Callison does finish this race here down in 26th position. No shame in finishing that far down. Nabil L, we have not talked about this guy pretty much at all this race. Will be settling for 27th. Hernandez goes 28th. But with these drivers finishing down the grid, well, they do have time to gauge their performance. If you start low, well, there's nothing that says you can't do better by the end. Of course, there are still 9 rounds to go here in Season 14 of the Sprint Series. Anything can happen, and for right now, everybody's crossed the line except for Flores, technically. So the game still thinks that this driver right here, the number 11, has to cross the start-finish line off the jacks, apparently. But that is going to do it. Charles, we had only 13 drivers on the lead lap. Everybody else not as lucky.
Yeah, well, that's rather unfortunate. But, I mean, just shows how big Hutchinson is, and, well, yeah. Everybody, I'm sure everybody did their best to go as quickly as possible, but it was not good enough.
No, it was not.
For most.
No, but it's certainly, again, it's the start of the season. You can't call anything on the first race, that's for sure. Although maybe Hutchinson might be one of the drivers that we have to keep an eye on up the grid. But ladies and gentlemen, we've ticked over to the next day in game. So we'll take a look at the final standings overall. Hutchinson 28 seconds clear of Loverink down in P2. Clifford's P3, Rodriguez P4, and Keogh P5. It's all amateurs in the top 10, except for Wilson, who does break that party up a little bit. Flomger, you think, if he'd just gotten around those back markers sooner, would we have an all top 10 pro categorization? For Pro-Ams, though, Wilson does take home bragging rights ahead of Hunter Page. And then it is Flores down P3, Parody's P4, Lanham 5th, and Darren Wicks all over the place. It felt like people sort of me barging into him is down in 6th position, but again, still plenty of time to make amends. It's Austin Shirley on top for the amateur class drivers. It's L and Hernandez, 2nd and 3rd, Thiele and Albacar. Albacar not making it to the end, and Thiele having to retire the car towards the end. You may have seen him sitting in the pit lane. And then for those that have yet to be categorized, it's Rodriguez, Hall, and Good, your top 3. Callison almost into the podium for this category. 4th for her. Then it's Parkinson, Mike, Clean, and Doggins who rounded out 5th down to 8th. But Charles, if this race is anything to go off of, we're going to be in for one hell of a season.
Yeah, we sure are.
Well, we'll see what happens as the season goes on. Final thoughts, though, Charles, before we get on out of here.
Well, it was one of the races of all time, that's for sure. But yeah, it was a race.
It was. And again, we got to give a huge shout out to Flomger. I mean, he starts 4th, has a moment, spins out, back of the grid, fights his way back, almost gets into the top 10, but just too little too late, can't make it happen. However, he is going to be coming back with a vengeance next race. He is not going to have that same mistake. At Hungary, I'll be surprised. A couple corners, maybe a little bit tricky, a little bit risky, a little bit of a nail-biter, but nothing that I don't think he cannot handle. Now, before we get out of here, one final shout-out, of course, to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 14 of the Sprint Series. These guys have been with us the last couple of seasons, and we're very glad to have them again for another one out of Melbourne, Australia. This sim racing supplier, one of the biggest down there. If you're in Australia, if you're in New Zealand, you guys are all set in terms of buying these things. But if you're like Charles and myself and you're outside of that, whether by continent, country, or anything of the sort, well, if you send them an email, they'll be more than happy to do some business with you. And those of you who are supporting us via Patreon, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases. Sim racing as a hobby, not cheap by any means. So definitely take advantage of that. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season. We hope to have them again as this season progresses. But Charles, Hungary's up next. What do you think we are going to witness?
Racing.
All right, well, there you go. We're going to get racing. If we ever had Captain Obvious in the booth, well, Charles is certainly it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here tonight. But thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Remember to like and favorite, comment, subscribe, and share this with all your friends. Of course, if you're looking to get into the OOR, well, let me be the first to say do it. One of the best communities out there, definitely not just my opinion, and plenty of series to go around, not only in ACC, but also in iRacing and in F1. So if you're looking for a new sim racing home, well, we are going to be the place to be. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful, and, well, keep it on the track.
Nails done. Girls with their nails done.